Right, good evening everybody and welcome to the first UK Afro House conversation. Really happy to be here. Shout out to Tom for making this happen as well with us. Drums Radio, if you're just joining us for the first time ever. Hello, good evening, my name is Mr. Silk. I'm joined today by some illustrious, not some, an illustrious panel of individuals from the UK. I hope some of you will jump in online as well, plus we've got an audience crew in here today. Make some noise everybody! Yeah. Right, so let's begin. I think the first thing we need to do is kind of find out who we have on our panel. And I could talk about them myself and give them a really rousing sort of title with sort of dramatic atmosphere, like a gladiator kind of speech. But I think I should leave that to them themselves. So we'll start at the end there with a gentleman by the name of DJ Bushman. DJ Bushman, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Afro House.
So yeah, DJ Bushman, owner of WeAreIdyll Records, label based in the UK. We release African electronic music. I think the reason I got into it is literally listening to, I would say, Afro House over the last 10 years, especially from like the early Black Coffee days and like Quavo, like a lot of act jazz and stuff, and that stuff sort of sat with me. And then gradually over the years, just, you know, honing my like, business skills first, like getting my profession, and then realizing like, do I want to go into like producing wise, or do I want to go into like a business management wise to look after artists? And I think the second option was the best for me, because I've got, like Joseph said, I've got like 150 tracks on my computer, but they're not coming out. See, I just don't think they're good enough, so what other producers do better. So I think that's how it works for me. It's been going 3 years now, and I think this is probably the first year that I've started to look more at UK Afro House artists to do a lot more work with. So yeah, I think it's come at the right time.
Awesome, thank you for joining us. We'll move alongside to the next to the gentleman there, Mr. Kryptic. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself as well.
So, as Mr. Silk said, I'm Kryptic, and I was born and raised in South Africa, and I moved here 4 years ago, having just been immersed in the sound, growing up listening to Black Coffee, and Temba, Shimba, everyone just, those were my idols growing up, and it's how I started getting into producing music, was listening to them and really just being immersed in culture. And I came here with just the vision of expanding the sound. It's a really, really big market in South Africa. It's started making the rounds. Started making the rounds internationally. So I think I felt like maybe be a part of that journey, and then we try to push it here in the UK as well. And it's nice to having come here. Making up the tones, who I've been pushing like long before I knew of them as I came here. Obviously, Icy as well, and my child crowd. And I knew them, and I knew that there was a market here. I knew that there were people pushing for it. I thought maybe be a part of that movement. And that's how I came into this.
Awesome, thank you very much. And holding on the mic next to you, a gentleman that I know very well. Mr. Joseph Hines, please tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Joseph Hines. I run a record label called Fomp, also a DJ and a producer, which I do as Bushman said, I don't really release any of my own records. Fomp's been going about 10 years now, so this is our 10th year this year, so we're looking to push the Afro House sound on. We've been sort of bubbling along the last few years, and just pushing South Africa. There's a lot of stuff now from the UK. We're hearing a lot of Afro House now, so we want to try and push that, try and build a community, and make the sound more prominent in the UK.
That's awesome. Thank you, sir. We'll get more into that in a second as well. Finally, our last panel guest, gentleman by the name of Ice DJ. Please introduce yourself and tell the world about it.
Hello everyone. So my name is Icy, DJ, producer, and recently just started my own label as well. I've been in the underground scene for over 2 decades actually. And I found that I was studying for a long period of time, so I wasn't really making much music or playing that much. And over that course of time, I was studying and listening to Afro House a lot. And I think it was one of Black Coffee's original tracks that I was listening to. It just draw me straight to the music straight away. And from there I started researching producers, labels, other DJs within the scene, and before I know it, like most of the guys have said, just found out I got immersed in the sound. And 10 years later, I'm here making music and connecting with people, so it's good to be here.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, for all speaking. And welcome to the conversation. My first question is going to be something just kind of like connecting. I think a lot of you said that, you know, how you experience the sound or how you kind of enticed you into the sound or how you thought about the sound. What I want to do is really expand on that slightly. I'm going to go with Joseph Hines first, because I keep looking at you really. Just tell us your feeling of what it is about the sound that makes it different to other things for you.
It's a tricky one, really, because I was listening to Afro House before it was Afro House. There was no Afro House.
It's SA House.
Even before then, because really Afro House wasn't from Africa.
No.
It's come from America. You've got the Masters of Work, you've got the Joe Purcell, Tom Trent. They were all doing Afro House before. Black Coffee, his inspirations, he's gone to South Africa and it's just exploded over there. Palestine,
You're saying how you felt about it, not how you first got into the sound, but how you felt about the sound, music, and how that drew you into it.
It's the drums. That's what drew me to it. I've always liked the congas, the bongos, the djembes, anything live drums has always brought me into the sound. You've got the claves and that rhythm. And then now with the more using electronic sounds, but still doing the same rhythm, but with electronic or changing, adding distortion to those drums. The drive and brings you in. And that's six, you can feel the movement, you dance, close your eyes, and you're gone.
Do you feel that there is a definite difference between what is UK's sound of Afro House and what is a global or South African sound of Afro House?
Not at the moment.
What do you think? Why is it? Is it exactly the same?
I feel they try to imitate sounds from Africa. I mean, we need to try and home in on our own, just like we did in every UK movement. We've got like garage, we've got the drum bass. They all built their own sound. I think the UK, what we need to do is that we need to take Afro House and slightly change it, or just move it into a UK sound. At the moment, there's a lot of good UK producers coming out, but it's still sounding like it's from SA. It sounds like it's from Angola. It's good. It's the music you like here, so you try and copy it. But what we need to do now is just tweak it. Tweak it to a UK.
Move it slightly. How do you think that kind of sound could work, I see?
For me, personally, I've got a lot of influences. You touched on drum and bass, that's what I did there recently. That was one of, and still is one of my first loves. And if you listen to some of my tracks, you'll hear it's heavy on the kicks and the bass lines, and some of the sounds there as well. That comes from the drum and bass element for me. I agree, some of the sounds coming out sound similar to SA, but I think it's pretty much like everything really. When you focus on something and you listen to it, so in this setting, it's Afro House, you're going to try it, and I won't use the word copy, you're going to try and emulate that sound. But what I try to do is put my own twist on it. I do a lot of collaborations with producers from SA as well as the UK. And for me, I always try and incorporate my style and my incorporation of that track, of a track. So you can hear, like, not only is it SA, but it's something slightly different. And there was a track, I think, if you listen to it, you can check out, type it out, Awakening, which is also out, it's kind of recorded. The original track, the instrumental, it's almost like it's got that drum and bass element to it. Like it's heavy on the kicks and heavy on the bass. So I agree in some respects that yes, we try to emulate and copy because that's where it's coming from. But at the same time, yes, we also need to try and add our own twist on it, which I think
No, definitely. Definitely. Bushman, when you're getting submissions from South Africa and stuff, and you're hearing people say, hey, we want to change our sound slightly to European, how would you advise someone in the UK trying to do the same thing and trying to get their sound slightly different?
To be honest, I think the fact that we've got UK producers already releasing on SA labels and labels that are in Africa, I think that really speaks volumes of how they see us as producers. And in regards to the style of production, we will always play our style a little harder. That's why Afro tech resonates so much with UK people because of the harshness of the bass line, the harshness of the kick and the drum and everything else that comes with it. And plus, with drum and bass, like they say, like garage, we already had synthesizers of that from early. So where you're hearing that again, it's like nostalgia, really. You go back to the sound you already know and where it fits into what the new style Afro house now. It seems like other people are picking up on it and it's making its headway. So I think the UK have a decent style, a really good style, and the fact that I get messages from SA producers about working or trying to see if they can work with UK producers, and then SA producers then finding out about these UK producers themselves and seeing their catalogue, it opens more doors that way. And I think that's where I sort of, like, I have really good conversations with Native Tribe, and I knew about DJ IC before, but when he sent me Vector, I was like, so why did you collaborate? He's like, well, can you not hear that bass line? And so if they're feeling it like that, we're already doing a good job. So I think our sound is starting to pick up. There is a lot of work in regards to differentiating it so you have your own avenues. I think IC's got a good avenue. I think Fomp has a good avenue as well. But it's what I was explaining earlier is how these tracks are showcased. And I think if one reason is if you do have a track that's out there, for instance, it's a UK thing and we support it, why shouldn't it do well in the charts that other people pick it up and stuff like that? Because that's ultimately the goal for it. So I think the UK Afro scene is growing, and the fact that it's getting picked up across seas, and not just in the UK, like America, Europe as well, and they're coming over here and they're willing to work with UK producers. I think that shows a lot for the sound, and I think we've got a good niche.
Yeah, definitely. Kryptic, you arrived in the shores of the UK. How are you feeling regarding the music theory in SA? And it's and I don't want to dip too deep in how the music is split. It's slightly different for those who read to SA to what we have here. Yeah. But how would you relate that to what we actually have here as well?
For me, I feel like the music in SA is very focused on like the offs and the synths. Like the stabs, I think is like it's really like prominent in a lot of the tracks that are it's always like the same kind of offs and stabs that's going on. And yeah, I think it's very much more focused on the groove side of things. I think very rhythmic. A lot of the recent releases coming out now, you can tell the difference in terms of the Afro house. I think that's probably what is going to determine what's going to be the difference between the two. Like really just the focus on that avenue. Because I think the trend in SA is that it's very much all about like the stabs and the synths and getting there's really harsh stabbing sounds out there. You go to a party and people are always like they're focusing on those small things like that, and I think that's what the general aesthetic is there.
Do you think that's because of the actual spaces that the music is being played in South Africa? Because in South Africa it's more of an open space and it's basically set up high-tech nightclubs.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is a big difference. Because it's always like an outdoor kind of open air kind of feel. It's never like, really like exactly. Exactly. So I think that will make a big difference, 100%. Yeah, definitely 100%. I think that is probably why it is that case. I think they focus on what ways to be played. You know, they're always thinking like, okay, let's get that hockey player with that hockey player. They're going to think shoes up for people like that. You know, my sport would probably be more of a Berlin, like rave sound.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like, things like that, they really do focus on like trying to get those tastemakers playing their tracks, and more likely they're going to be playing these open air events. So I think that's the difference between UK and Afro House. I'm sorry, UK Afro House and South Afro House. Yeah.
But I'm not going to split them, because I think we should still call it just Afro House, because if we start splitting now, it causes problems down the line. That's what they say. We've got to just stay together, whether it be the Portuguese or the UK or the Venezuelan Afro House, because we now have that as well. Do you think, and you kind of said a question there about tastemakers, and let's start, we know there's tastemakers globally, but let's return back to the UK. Do we have tastemakers in the UK? Who are those tastemakers in the UK? And also, how do we, if we don't, establish our own community of tastemakers and people who can push our scene as a UK environment forward? You can take any of those questions, and I'll start with Kryptic, because it's good at getting shit on me now.
Okay, well, we definitely do have, I think, this, the face of Afro House in the UK right now. It's set the kids. I think they've really gone above and beyond to push it. I don't know, they've come up with something different, I guess, you know, because respect to like the old school guy, like the Luke Romo, he was obviously like really big in this, and he's been pushing this from now it's in Bali, but like, you know, keep like really pushing it, and I think, yeah, definitely we do have them currently as like key faces, and I think it's just a matter of consistency, you know, just be consistent at what your ideals are, what you're trying to push, all that, and you know, you'll get, you know, recognition for, you know, what you're trying to put in, what you're trying to do, and it will go across. Like as I said before I came here, I mean, I knew Icy, I knew Tracker, you know, so I mean, if you're, you know, really staying consistent with what you're about and what you're trying to push, then, you know, you'll get the recognition in due time.
Definitely. I see your comments on that.
In terms of tastemakers, I agree with Kryptic. I think we've got quite a lot in the UK. Also, yes, we have to sort of pay homage to Steph Conrad and Kitty and more as well, because what they've done, especially over the last couple of years, I think is nothing short of remarkable for that scene, if I'm honest. There could be more. Again, in my opinion, and I think along those lines, I think it's more about reaching out to people and having conversations about what they're doing. What I see is a lot of people being being reserved and not willing to reach out. And I think if we do that a lot more, we have more inclined to open up to more doors and have, better discussions and people playing music. Hopefully, that's one of the reasons why I've obviously gone back on radio. To not only showcase my own music, but others are also playing and making music as well. I also include yourself. You know, he's being a tastemaker and someone who's championing the scene, if I'm honest, Mr. Silk. So, yeah, I do think we're heading in the right direction, but we could do a bit more as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that accommodation, sir. Joseph, your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I'd definitely say Seth and Kitty are killing it at the moment. They've been pushing for a long time, and they've got the backing of the biggest label in the UK, so they've been really.
Is it the house?
That's it. Yeah, no, not in the UK. The biggest house label in the UK. Probably in Europe, to be honest. Yeah, think about their catalogs, how much they're actually doing at the moment. So that's the biggest place at the moment. I'd say we haven't got a leading producer that we could all say, but he's the star. We haven't got the shining light in the Afro house scene at the moment. Not yet. It will come. Hopefully it will come, And we need, that's what we need. We need someone to say, right, that's he's the pinnacle. But most definitely got a kid with DJ, they're no producers. I think they start, they dabble, but nothing. So, and then we need someone that's consistent, that's going to bring out records and
hit them off every time.
hit them up every time. And that's what we haven't got at the moment.
Yeah.
That shining star that can carry the whole team.
Oh, there's a question that popped in my head, but like, it's kind of a, because I'd say, would you say someone like Atjas, who's been and is from the UK, has been delivering, per se, some of that?
I would say he's not content Afro.
He's not, that's the only thing. But some that we can
He jumped up between genres, so he can't be the shining light of Afro House because, well, he is, but
he isn't.
and he's not
At the same time.
He was
At one time, very much
very,
big
very much in Afro, and he's not as consistent as he was.
No.
He's not. He's not playing DJ all the time. He's not. He produces. He's a legend. He's not. But we need someone to say, right, it's the UK that coffee. The UK. This is the UK. This is what. I can't go and see him DJ. He's playing here. It's all go. We haven't got that at all.
Yeah, we definitely need that. Yeah.
But even when Steph and Kitty played for Sordella, they're not in the big room. There was a little room. There needs to be someone in the big room.
Someone who's bringing the crowd.
Someone bringing the crowd. I think that's what we need, and we haven't got yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will come. But it's just time. I mean, at the moment we've grown amazingly, but we're still not where we need to be.
We're at the beginning age.
Yeah.
Though myself, you at the very, very birth. We're at the beginning stage. Bushman, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments. I'll put myself there as well. If you're talking like UK artists, like listening to music, I listen to a lot of Johnny Miller, so that stuff as well. For me, it was like they're revered in SA. So in regards to that, like if they could get that sort of acclamation over there, in regards to certain other people like Jim Star as well. Like I was speaking to him the other day, and it was one of those things which you're like, wow, sort of thing. But yeah, that was like one of those ones where I was like, okay, so you've got to do this type of music. You don't do it prominently, but you're revered over there because of what you've done. Like Kid Fomp works with Johnny Miller all the time. You need that type of producer, but again, not who's going to do it 50% of the time. You need someone who's going to do it 100% of the time. And if we know that producer's going to do it 100% of the time, everyone's just going to have to buy in. If we want that producer to be the forefront of something, everyone has to buy in. Like, everyone bought into SA, everyone in SA bought into Black Coffee, who's now got a Grammy nomination. How's that like not possible for anyone else to do that from where we are? So again, it's all about that working together as a community, like actually having conversations and speaking about what's the next step forward. And once you start opening them doors, you know, I think everyone will walk the same path. Until then, everyone's sort of like getting to a certain stage and waiting for someone to knock through, someone to like give them a guide where you can do that yourself by working together. I can lift you over the wall, you can pull me over, sort of thing. So if we do that, I think then yeah, our sound will stick out, and there'll be, again, it might not just be one prominent face, it might be 3, 4, 5, but we all know they're delivering, and the consistency, like Kryptic said, that comes with it. Why wouldn't we push it? So I'm in that boat as well. There's a lot of people like yourself and Seth and Kitty that are holding the fort and pushing it. You just got to pick up our slack and follow through and have the conversations with yourselves on how to get to the next step.
Yeah, totally agree. In that same instance of that, do you think that it's a lack of maybe platforms or spaces that's also hold that? Of course, you're putting that music, but is it a case of that? Places to play, like today at Tom's, but other places as well.
Well, we obviously like that. And again, like we were having a conversation about asking the question. I'll ask the question, like if I get told, no, cool, I'll ask again in 6 months' time when I'm showing that I've done something else. You still say, no, cool, I'll ask again in 6 months' time. It's not bad that I have bad, like I'm still doing my thing, you see it, I'm just going about my business, but you know, we can do this thing together. And I reached out to Trevor. I'm here now playing here with her after like 4 or 5 months. I've done that for other places and other spaces. We'll see where it goes. So again, it's all about actually having a conversation with people. A lot of the time we get caught up in this. We should be reached out to. We should be reached out to. And coming from like a business mindset, like if I want your piece, then I have to sell myself to you. So the way I sell myself to you is like, here's my pattern with my label. This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm going. Do you want to mess with this? I'm not going to swear. But do you want to mess with this? And you're like, yeah or no. And again, I keep proving and proving and proving. And eventually, like, now people who did talk to me 3 years ago, like producer-wise, now want to do remixes for me, like, now I hold the keys in my hand. And that's not to say, oh, I've got that. Yeah, it's all me. But again, you build that rapport to a point where you can have those convos like that. And I think that's what's not happening in the UK. Like, I myself, I'm bad at that. I need to do more of that myself with the likes of yourself, and Joseph and everyone else. So I'm not trying to put it on anyone else, but I've got to do that and reach out to like Hines and everyone else and try and push this thing like that. Otherwise, it's just going to not go anywhere. We're just relying on yourself, the city, and the city's separate key to do it. You see what I mean? So unless we actually ask the questions, we won't get the answer we want. So that's how I see it.
No, great point, great point. Musically, I mean, we talk about musically and sort of your taste and stuff. But let's talk about musically origins. So like, let's say garage, it kind of got a community together and all that stuff. We had radio stations playing there, we had everyone sort of coming around this one sound from the UK, which we all felt or understood as UK music. How do we get Afro House from where it is now, as it's currently bubbling, as you might say, to the stage where we can get the same kind of effect as the house and garage kind of is now? No, you can speak again.
I'll literally say that quickly. One thing, I think that the platforms that, like for instance, One Extra that give the platform to you, I think the One Extra platform needs to do more in showcasing you, because when I see you put it up, it's you showcasing you. I could do that all day. I could showcase myself all day. If they're not buying into it, regardless of what time it is, how are you supposed to get the feeling like, oh, this is going somewhere? That goes to the same like for all like the magazines and stuff. If they're not actually buying into it and going, okay, actually, let me figure out who this guy is, and actually let me really research him, actually, let me push his socials, actually let me tag people, tag the right people, like at one time Defected tag a Rob Negative Tribe, and he had to get corrected. Come on, that's right. Do it professionally, get it right the first time, and show the respect to the person, and you get it back. And I think that's the problem with the platforms like One Extra. They don't showcase like, oh, when you tweet out that your actual tweet name is you doing it for yourself. I think that's the problem. That's my issue with it.
I wonder if I should speak on this or not. But
I hope I haven't
myself now. So on the One Extra, there is some, you know, because there's been a lot of, because they've done the there's been a lot of duties that have gone through that. And it's kind of about in the dead hours, to be real with each other. It's 2 till 3 a.m. in the morning, let's be real. And you kind of have to do your work yourself. You've got to make sure every kind of knows it's being played. So for everyone that's trying to get to that stage where they will get one, and I'm sure, I hope that all of us will get one in the Wix or the UK DJs actually placed in there. I know they're doing a global kind of thing, but it's a case of that it is working. It would be nice, and I'm saying, your point is right, it would be nice for them to really support and back it with tweets and stuff and everything else that's going through the tracks. Because I know they put it up and it's kind of like, that's that.
Regardless of how late it is, like even in the mornings when people wake up, they know UK wake up at 6, 7. But a tweet like, listen back to the shows you missed last night. Tweet your name and that, show a bit of like enthusiasm for what you've done for them. I think if you get that, you're going to retweet it more, you're going to push it more, you can get more people listening to it, and they're going to come back to you. It's a working relationship, isn't it?
And you know what? Because you said that, I'm actually going to raise that point with the actual head of One Extra. Just because you said that. I'm actually going to call him tomorrow.
I take 10% of the problem.
Alright, the same questions. Well, quickly go Kryptic.
Sorry, repeat the exact question, please.
Alright, you can ask me that question, you can do that. Right, so what I asked is, how do we make our music as we have it now as, oh, you weren't really around the house and garage, so I can't ask you that question. I have to actually hand it over to Josie. What I will do, I'll come back to you, but I have a question for you that will fall into that same format. But I have to ask, because it was regarding the house and garage era, and I don't think you were here in the house and garage era. Though you most still feel what the house and garage is now, I don't think you were around before that era. Am I correct? Am I wrong? No. I want to tell you, I know you guys might be doing so I'm just making sure. But please, Susan, go ahead.
I think it's going to be quite hard because I think we're bigger now than the house and garage. Started as a small team and then grew.
But isn't that exactly?
But this is global. Our house and garage came from the UK. The garage came from the UK.
Right.
Where were we?
Where did it first start?
It first started from the house. And they took their own, like I said before, they took their own twins to it.
And
they turned the speed up. Like we pretty much do.
Yeah.
But they turned the speed up, and then they made gaps, and then they started building, and it started small, and got bigger into more and more clubs. There was a few DJs, and then already we've got thousands of DJs, and everyone who likes Afro House is a DJ in the UK. So it's hard.
Yes and no. I think that then one like Garage at the beginning was DJ. And then it became these little small parties.
Yeah.
Whereas when I first experienced Garage, I went to a house party. And that's how I experienced my first was this music artist. And I was like, Garage, oh, this is alright, I like this. And I think that then developed to what it became later on. I think we have the opportunity at this point in time to build a version of that.
Yeah.
So a house, our Afro house, little parties that, like songs like what we're doing at the moment, like what you guys are doing with Pablo and stuff with those as well, just keep those guys, but support each other so we can keep growing.
Yeah, that's right. It's supporting each other. That's how we grow. But it's keeping the niche. Keep it a niche, but not too niche.
Not too niche, not too underground.
Not too underground, trying to get everyone together, everyone in the scene on the same level. We have two parties, everyone says, right, I'm going to party here, I'm going to do a party there. You come to my party,
working together.
We work together. And structure. Like I said, there's quite a few DJs now, so it's hard to get that level of keeping everyone happy and everyone in the scene. There's always egos, there's always different, and everyone's just got to say, right, this is the level, this is what we're doing. We're all on the same level. I'll do a party, you do a party, you can't pay mine, I'll pay yours. Let's swap over, and then all the say you do 4 parties a month between 4 different nights. And then that way, more focus on each other.
And it grows, yeah.
And it grows.
I see. Do you think we need a couple of actual Afro House absolute smashes to make the actual scene grow and people to be investing themselves into it?
In short, no. Again, it's my opinion. We talk about the scene growing, sound growing. Talk about the garage scene. If I remember rightly, looking back then, because I was also involved in that area as well, and what I found what happened quite a lot is it wasn't really about the DJs at the beginning, it was about the music. And what you found is promoters and people who were interested in that stuff, everyone was sharing everyone's mix CDs, to be honest. So I could be outside the club, firing for my friend, but I'm taking your CD with me, and I'm sharing your CD. So not only hearing my music, they're hearing yours as well. That used to happen a lot. Exactly. That doesn't happen in the Afro House scene. These little pockets of people doing little things. So you talk about something growing. I think people might have seen me follow me anyway. I always share people's things. Always. And I always will. Because that's how you're going to get people in tune to the sound, know what's happening, and know the people who are making the music or the DJs who are playing the music. And I think a lot more producers and DJs should be doing that. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. To be honest, I think just be a lot popular people. To that community, that's how we look community. Everyone's together, you know? So that's just my
taking that point on something that we've just discussed on a wider local Afro House scene market space as well, because it's still a very virgin scene globally as well. We discussed that we don't seem to have communities, as you said, DJ communities, DJ, what they call it, collectives or pools, DJ pools, yeah? Where we share music, where we connect with each other, that sort of thing there. Whilst others have, in other industries or other sounds have been doing that. And I'll take on that if we look at the, let's talk about the piano explosion over the last 14 to 16 months, you know. It's been going since 2012. From before that, in actual fact. But, you know, it's kind of right to really is like, okay, this is actually a sound now. And then it's exploded in the last 6 to 14 months and say, we need to borrow, I'm not saying steal, borrow some of the stuff that they've done. And if we were to borrow, I'm going to make up to answer your question actually. I'll speak on it first and then I'll take your question. I don't need to borrow some of the ideas and stuff that they've done in there, and also the community they built up, like working together, like you'll see all of them in the studio together working on a product to build a track that they all released and they all push together as a collective, and all that collective pods to do that as well. What can you guys think? And I'll start with Kryptic. It's really good because you're from South Africa, so you feel the pace of it as well. How we could actually do that in the UK for the Afro house scene.
One distinct thing about WeAreIdyll is that, like, when you look at all these tracks, there's artist on artist on artist, like Dojo actually made a song. Like, there's so many of them that were like, you know, primary artists. And I think them doing that is good to see because, like, you know, now all these people have gone and made this band, right? And they keep doing that, and then obviously they will have their own separate projects and stuff like that. But them all collectively making like one big band, and people doing like you know, like these people that stick with it, and then they go into each individual artist, like they have their own other project with mass artists there, like whatever, like. And I think that's, you know, that's how they really pop, but I think at the same time, it's good, like, it's just had a more of a mass appeal, like, you know, Afro house and Afro tech at the end of the day, like, you know, house music, it's always like, you know, that piano falls more like into like a more mainstream, bigger thing, you know, the greater context of the African diaspora, as opposed to, you know, house music. And I think that is a factor into how it was able to just really pop. But like one distinct thing about it is that, you know, them all having mass artists like producing one song. I think that's like really big as to how that, you know, we made it over there. And I think that if we in the UK start having things like that, you know, it's a lot of, you know, mass projects with just UK guys. I know that's, you know, Bushman over here is trying to cook up right now. I think, you know, that's important, you know, doing that.
I think you failed to say something because the original stuff, SA House sound had that as well, everyone working together. You know, the Durban guys, they all got together on it, they mixing each other on different tracks until like a Susie, exactly. All of them on the same track, they all all on the same track.
Exactly, yeah.
And the same would happen with the Joburg guys and the same with the Cape Town guys and the Eastern London guys, they kept doing it as well. So maybe, that's kind of where the idea of them at the beginning and then improved on it. Maybe we need to improve on it. And let's talk about, because you brought me in and that WeAreIdyll. Let's talk about this
the project thing.
The project, I'm going to put the project. Let's talk about the project.
I think it's probably literally fell into a place of just seeing what the sounds are out there and the fact that there's a lot of, like I talk to a lot of SA artists and so a lot of artists over there, they actually listen to like house music. And I'm not just saying Afro house music, I'm saying house music is just a thing for them. So when they talk to me about like Defective Records releasing this, and I'm like, oh, you know, that's not Afro house, that's like the mainstream house sort of thing like that. And they're like, yeah, but like this pops over here, it's like we're trying to merge our sound like that and give them a groove. We kind of go like, okay, so are we like reading this wrong? But for me, it's the fact that they're now looking at our producers and they're going, we want to work with you, or you can submit this like track on say Ego's label and like that on Mozambique's My Other Side of the Moon label and stuff like that. And you think to yourself, oh, okay, hold on. They must really like our sound, like I see with Steve, like, and they're remixing this track as well.
It's not as if it's like, and you're having the SA sing on your track as well. There's a lot more to it than like when you look at it from like my perspective, is they actually mess with our sound. So like if we're trying to put out our sound in a way, like my label's quite popular over there at the moment, people know who it is, they know that I'm in the UK, they know that I'm delivering, so they're like, cool, if I deliver something from the UK that showcases our sound, who won't listen to it? Like that's where I come in and say, like, if you have 6 guys on that whole piece, are you going to tell me all 6 guys are not going to push their track? You get what I'm trying to say? Like, we've got 6 people pushing the same thing. Someone's going to pick it up. Like, it's all about the consistency. It's all about the community. What you were talking about, DJ pool, that's easy to do. You just talk. You sit down, submit 10 tracks a month, hit up the mainstream sessions and go, plug this piece in on one of your main time sets. Like, Nick Bright the other day, he said, every week I'm going to be playing a new track on my show. Don't get twisted, I send him every single thing. A new email every other day. Until he picks one of my tracks, I'll email the guy. I don't care. But if you don't do that, it won't get played. So I think if we had a connected pool of people pushing a certain aspect of, let's say, 10 tracks a month to magazines, to radio stations, mainstream, and saying, pick one of these tracks from these producers and it gets played and you will push it. Why can't it happen next month? Eventually, why can't it seep into a mainstream radio? Which is one of my gripes at why you being on at 2, 3. You come on 3 hours earlier, who knows who's listening?
I see. I'm doing that.
So, for me, I agree totally with what Bushman is saying. You need a pool of DJs, you need a pool of producers. It's a collective effort at the end of the day. And that's what I see. I keep coming back to the point is, and this is the only thing I do have a gripe with in terms of the music as a whole, there's not enough collaboration, there's not enough people talking to each other, and I still don't understand why. I've reached out to Kryptic and just recently, Bushman, I was just messaging, over Insta, and they're now talking, face to face. So it's possible and it's doable, it's just about reaching out to people and in the chat. Nothing's that big anymore, because we're living in a digital age. Things can be done very quickly. We talk about the garage era, we're doing things physically, having record boxes, everything digital. You're selling people, you're selling cars, it's quick, it's easy. It's just about having an open conversation, and that's what I said. Someone says no problem. But leave, I'll be coming back to the system.
Do you think there's been much change over the years from what was to what is now? Joe? So I'm not trying to cover his age like that, people, right?
Yeah, it's different now. There's so many, like, I can't keep up anymore, how many producers, how many people, how many labels there are. I remember at the beginning it was like, Afro House was me, Females, and Jody. That was it. It was just us three in the UK. And so now there's so many. And it's also, there's so many. Everyone can start a label, anyone can do things. And what I find, and sort of, it's a different way of doing things. Like things with loads of people playing on the track. Before I used to talk, no, that's not good. That's messy. I see that. I'm going to move it around. But that's the old school way of thinking. You're not going to get a line with 100 people in it. And that's still, you've got to train now. You've got to get that's now. That's a market. It's all about marketing now. It's not about music. It's about if you've got someone that's going to market a track, just sign up. If he's got more Insta followers, and like I said, if you've got 10 people on a track, the quick things they're all going to market it. And that's the thing, you've got to try and change the mindset. And I'm not very good at social media. I don't admit it. I don't like it. But you've got to be on it. You can't. At least I used to just go to the club, speak to the DJ there, here's my track, now you go to a club, you play the big DJs, you can't even get to them. You can't even get to the DJ box anymore. So everyone's away, you can't get there. There's all the guest list, even on the guest list. There's different type of guest lists now. You've got the VIP plus, and
Platinum is the right.
That's it. It's a lot different now.
Do you think that even with the differences there, the opportunities are wider still, in my opinion as well? There is a wider.
There's a lot more opportunities.
You have to do it differently, go around it differently, but it's still wider.
And you've got to accept the differences. That's the thing that you've got to think, like, I've got to do this now. And the stuff you don't like, then you've got to do it. You've got, like, I find social media a chore. Like, I don't like it, but you have to do it. You can't not do it. If you don't do it, you just, you disappear.
Yeah. Do you think that that's happened to some of the, I won't say something else, but because you've got some really excellent talent, just like you have excellent producers and excellent records, but just because it's just a lack of social media. Is that the social media of the person, or is that the social media of the actual record labels that we should be looking at?
Pick both.
I'll definitely say
Both. You've got to be both on the same page.
You can't send me a demo and I can't even find your Facebook page. It doesn't work like that. I need to see that you're actively promoting yourself as an artist, because if you're not doing that for you and you're expecting others, it doesn't work. There are some artists out there that I would work with again, and some that I won't, based upon the fact of how they push their material. And that's literally down to, if I own my product, I want the best for my product. If you don't want the best for your product, it's not going to work. It needs buying from both sides. And I think that's the main thing I would say. If an artist is out there actively on social media, pushing themselves, doing the work, like I see people showing homage, it picks up. People will notice it. People pay their respects back. They start paying their dues. They start listening. He's getting more collaborations with more people at FSA. It works like that. And you do that one way, they do it your way. Why can't it work? And I think that's the only thing that I would say about artists. They're not pushing themselves back. What's the expectation you're going to get from what they do? It's just, they're just releasing a simple.
So I'm going to keep going. This is that now, right? Do you think this is a thing because maybe this is something? No, back to you, Kryptic, because it's something that happens in South SA a lot. Is the release schedule of DJs and producers or producers. It doesn't seem like they're giving time for the tracks to breathe. It's like they're dropping one every other week, or maybe sometimes twice a week, and not giving themselves enough time so they can work. It's do a marketing campaign, do a planning. How would you change that? And that's from the SA, but also talking to the UK guys who are now looking at it, thinking they have to do that too.
I think it's just like a matter of education. A lot of people do how hop into the game, they sit in the coffee in their tracks, and now they're out like, I've got so many tracks now, they're just sitting everywhere, and this one like, and like, I think I was working on this in the early stages, I think people are still working on this now, like, people who are early into the game and now talking about dropping albums and stuff, and I'm just like, just, if they had like, the knowledge and like know-how, like, music business side of things, marketing strategies, campaigns, all of that, like, you learn these things and you realize that you need to, like, you need to have a period, where you drop your track and that's really, like, the real work starts when the track is out. Now you have to start marketing, promoting it, pushing it, getting editorials, playlists, all that kind of stuff like that. That's the work, And I think a lot of artists, they rely on the labels to do that. I'm sure you can attest to that. So I think that that's the main thing, just like educating artists on the business side of things.
I see.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Kryptic said. Equally, and for me, I hold my hands up, I was guilty of that. Towards the end of 2020 or 21, I was flooding, literally, every other month. I had tracks out, or an EP. But that was deliberate, because I wanted people to see, and labels, and people who like music, that's what helps, to see that I'm there, this is what I'm doing. The only way that I could do that, besides mixes, and we know we get with social media, there's so many different sites out there. You can literally go to anyone and find, so I'll probably get lost in that realm. So the other alternative is to make music. But for me, I was very clever what I did because I reached out to labels as well. I just studied music and played music on different platforms. So that they were aware that I'm here and what I'm doing, and also listening to the type of music I'm making. And it's actually now paying off the beginning of 2022. Because like I say, a lot of these labels are now reaching out to me to do remixes, become a label of the year. So I think I also understand that the marketing side, I've learned that a lot and also picked a few things up from the previous conversation. So I've taken a few things from that too. But I agree, it's also how you do things. So yeah, I'm going to start trying to get that.
And those other conversations are the Afro House conversations that happen online. For those who haven't joined us, one of those, I know you have spoken to them as well. They will be back in February when I get body and banner. We'll go back into backs.
So actually, I wanted to just this is something that's been in my mind for a while. From the conversation that we're having about platforms and growing community, the Afro community, I think what Seth and Kitty have done is amazing, and they're taking it to another level. And I think that now with that platform, of being in that space and having that effect and now with the prominence about what they do is pull in the UK producers that are doing it, and have events where obviously you bring in your bankers, your Jeffs, all of that, have them there as well, bring your artists in, but just supporting those acts, have the UK guys who are there, who are going to be consistent features, around town. I think that's a really big thing that should happen, because that's one thing that happens in SA. That a lot of the time we had any markers and all of them were being supported by people who never heard their tracks. You never heard their tracks, but they're pushing it on, they're busy, they're working on it, and that's why it's such a tight community. Everyone's always talking about loads of pages, talking about Afro House, Afro's communities, all that kind of stuff. It's because they're the people on the grassroots level who are also pushing it. And I think having the likes of Jamal, Trevor, is that the people who are really pushing it, having them do their thing as well, and now they have the platform, people see them, and they do their thing, check with back to Monty and continue there, and it's had this showcase here. Just it helps create community, it expands it to more people. I think that's a really important thing in terms of building community.
Definitely. Something that I can't live by. I'm sure some of you know that already. And even for Trekker, when they first appeared on the scene, I think we were straight in there to help them out and help them develop as well as something like that. Coming back to your point about the side of actually grassroots and getting DJs or someone to always appear to sort of bring the crowd and stuff. So we are doing something as Drums Radio on Saturday, March 26th, for those who are available in the UK. And there will be a special act again on the night. I always try to make sure there's a special act there, as everyone knows, to make sure that it spices up on that day. I might tell you in a minute. Right, I know that we're getting the signals that we have to round up, so I'm going to do closing statements. So if you just say the future of two questions: the future of Afro in the UK, and let people know your socials. Okay?
So I'll just get the socials because that's quick. So just find me at DJ Bushman and everything. I'll follow my label, WeAreIdyll, that's IDYLL. Go and support the latest track just released by Olivia and Bonnie, and our latest release is now out on pre-order, so go and get that as well. For Afro House UK, I will definitely have more combos like this, and I will definitely press more people to come down, like Seth and Kitty, to join these type of combos, because that type of unity there, where they're sitting amongst people like ourselves and answering the questions and going through the roles of what Afro House means to you, it holds a lot more weight. And I think keeping it off is a good thing, because now it becomes something that if you do become consistent, it will happen. It will naturally go down that path. And I think it's just a matter of we have to like, okay, let's tie up our shoes and do it. If no one's going to do it, like, let's just do it. I don't mind doing it because it's something I have a passion about. So for myself, it's not an issue to put my foot down and go as well. So I think there is a scene. I think it's growing. I think the exposure of how SA House is worldwide has allowed our setting to develop more because we do push the sound quite prominently, like more necessarily, like more than Europe or even on the same level. It's kind of like we push it quite well. So I think it's there. I think it's for us to take advantage of it by being, professionals, as they say.
Indeed. Kryptic.
Yeah. Socials, it's Kryptic.
How do you spell that, please?
IT as in KRY, PTIC. Instagram, Facebook. Main socials. So there. And the future of UK Afro House. I mean, it's kicking off now, isn't it? Us having the discussions here shows something. Having Defected Records decide to create a whole Afro House sub-label, that speaks volumes. When that happened, I was shocked, like absolutely shocked. The biggest house label in the world, recognizing that this is something that's knocking on the door. I think that's only the start now, really, and it's growing, and I think the growth of house, it helps. People just recognize that that's African sound, those things that generated from there, serious sounds, and us doing our own thing to it as well, piques interest, and I think that it's only growing. It really is only growing. That's my take.
Thank you. Joseph.
Can you hear me?
I see.
You can catch me on a label at Fomp UK, and that's FOMP UK, and also Instagram at Joseph Hines. And for the future of Afro House in the UK, I think it's moving on. It's good. It's looking good. It's nice to speak to people here and get to know what people in the UK are doing and see the same type of thing. And it's good to hook up and try and move things forward. We've had plenty of talks on the Afro House thing, and it's nice to meet people in person and listen to what they have to say, see we're all on the same level, and we all can get together and start doing something.
Yes. Thank you very much. I see.
So socials, just Instagram, ICDJ, just 4 letters, very easy, ICDJ, and from there you see a link to all of tracks with people, releases, mixes, and a lot of other stuff going on. So that's the socials. In terms of Afro House, UK, the future is bright. I'll keep it short and simple. The future is bright for Afro House. And it's good to be a part of the discussion around this today. First of all, I've never done. So thank you for having me, of course. And I think you should start a WhatsApp group. And you should put all the DJs and producers in there, like Bushman said. That's one way to start trying to tailor something. And we can start building a community. So, it's possible. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming as well. What I was going to do actually, speak to you about that in a minute. I know we've got to go really well. I was thinking, maybe we can use that or use another one that does that as well. So right. First of all, I want to thank all my guests for speaking this evening. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the House Conversation UK. We'll see you very soon. Watch out, big things happening. Keep your eye on the UK. Thank you very much.